Hello class, for today's lesson is about adding and subtracting integers. And here are our learning targets. I can add and subtract integers with the same and different signs. And I can subtract integers by applying the rule keep, change, or KCC. Like the number line, we know for a fact that a negative number will always be less than any positive number. However, in addition and subtraction of integers, it is a different concept. Now let's start with addition. Now there's a rule for this. So when you add a positive number to a positive number, the result is positive. Now, when you add both negative numbers, the result would be negative. However, if you add a positive number and a negative number, the result would depend on which number is bigger. Now let's try to illustrate what I mean. So let's have the positive first. Now let's try to have 2 plus 3. Obviously 2 and 3 are positive numbers and we could just add them. 2 plus 3 is 5. Now, if you are going to illustrate, let's have these boxes, okay, as are positive. Okay, oops, plus 3 boxes. And this one. So obviously we have here 2, the positive 2, and positive 3. So when we add them, we could count that there are five positive numbers or 5 positive boxes. Now let's also have negative numbers here. Same concept. If we have here negative 1 plus negative 2, we could illustrate this by using boxes again. So we have box 1, box 1 plus another 2 boxes of negative. So we could write it here, or we could count. We have here the negative 1, and negative 2. So when we add both negative again, so the symbol would be negative as well. So let's have a different concept on adding negative numbers. Imagine if you're adding something that is evil or bad and another evil or bad. So if both are evil, then obviously the result of such doing would also be evil. So that's it. Now how about adding a positive number and a negative? Like what I said, it depends on which number is bigger. Now let's try to have negative 1 and negative 1 plus, let's try 3. Now let's imagine that we're still applying the concept of box and evil or goodness. So we have here, so negative 1 for the red box and 3 boxes for the good. Now As you can see here, -1 is just basically 1, and there are 3 positive numbers. So if we compare evil here for the red one versus good, then obviously good has more boxes or number compared to evil. So with this one, we could cancel them. So one red and one blue. So we are left with 2 blues or 2 goodness or 2 positive numbers. That means -1 plus 3 is 2. Another way without illustrating this, when I taught this topic to my previous students, so I asked them on based on number, which one is bigger, -1 or I'm sorry, which is bigger, 1 or 3? And obviously, the bigger number is 3. Now the question, since 3 is bigger than 1, what symbol does 3 have? Since 3 is a positive number, that means we can expect that the result is positive. So since we know that the result is positive, all we need to do is to subtract the bigger number minus the smaller number, regardless of the sign. So here, based on our given, so we could have the bigger number is 3 minus the smaller number, which is 1. So obviously 3 minus 1 is 2, which is just the same with the one we did here using an illustration. Now what if we have here -5 plus 2. So again, we're gonna use the box and evil and good concept. So let's have 5 boxes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, let me change the color of this one. So -5. And for 2, for +2, we have 2 boxes. So based on this, obviously the evil is greater than the good based on this. So we could cancel the same number of red and blue. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 red, 1 blue. So we are left with 3 red boxes or -3. Now, again, using a different way of solving this without the need of illustration. So let's go back to the one that I had earlier. So between 5 and 2, regardless of the sign, which is bigger. So obviously the bigger one is 5 over 2. Now, as you can see with -5 plus 2, what is the symbol for 5? And the symbol for 5 is negative, which means we can expect that the result would be negative as well. Now, going back to the bigger number minus the small one. So regardless of what symbol or signs they have, so the big number is 5, and then minus the smaller number, which is 2. So we are left with 5 minus 2, which is 3. So it's just similar to the one we had on the left side. Now this time, let's have subtraction. For subtraction, we have this rule called KCC. K for keep, C for change, and C again for change. What it means is that for the key here is keep the first number. Keep the first number. Second is change the subtraction. The subtraction to addition and change the sign of the second number. So I'll just highlight these words. So keep, change. Yeah, that's it. Now, for example, we have here 7 minus 3. Again, like what it says here for KCC, keep the first number, which is 7. So regardless if this is a positive or negative, we just keep the number the way as it is. So we just have 7. Now here, change the subtraction to addition, and the sign of the second number would be different or will be changed. So we now have 7. Again, our subtraction here will be addition, and our 3 here, which is positive, would become a negative number. Now, based on earlier discussion about adding integers, we can now have the same process on asking, regardless of the sign or the symbol, which among the two is bigger. Is it 7 or 3? So obviously, 7 is bigger than 3. And which symbol does 7 have? So obviously 7 is positive, so that means we can be sure that the result is also positive. But since this is positive, then we are not required, or it's not necessary for us to write the positive sign here. But at least we know for sure that the result would be positive. Now, going back to another process, again, is big minus small. So our big here is 7, and minus the small number, which is 3. So 7 minus 3 is 4. So basically, this is just a regular way of solving, because 7 minus 3 is actually 4. So let's write it here. Now, if we're going to have illustration on both numbers, so we have here for 7, let's have 7 good boxes. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 3 evil boxes. So we could just cancel this one with 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. And obviously, we are left with 4 good or positive boxes. And that's it. Now let's have another example. Okay, so we have here negative 4 minus 2. Now applying the KCC, keep the first number. So still, we're going to use negative 4. Change the negative operation, the subtraction operation to addition. And change 2 into negative 2. So we have negative 2 here. Now, based on our ruling with the addition or adding of integers, adding negative numbers, adding both negative numbers here, negative and negative, we could expect that the result would just be negative, obviously. Now, when we are adding negative numbers, instead of having b, the bigger number, minus the small one, so we're not gonna apply this, but instead, we're just gonna add the two numbers. So 4 plus 2 is 6. That's why your answer is negative 6. Now, how is it different? Now, same thing with positive numbers being added. So 1 plus 2, obviously both numbers are positive, so that means our symbol here or sign would be positive, and we don't need to do the big minus small because we could just add 1 plus 2, which is 3. And that is also the same process with negative 4 plus negative 2. all we need to do is to copy the sign, which is negative, which is here, this one, and then add the two numbers, simple as it is, 4 plus 2. So that's why we got 6. And combining the 2, the negative and 6, that's why we got negative 6. Now, if you want to have a, what do you call this, an illustration, so using positive or the good boxes or the bad boxes, so we have here 1, 2, 3, 4 plus two negative boxes or evil boxes. So obviously we cannot cancel each box from both sides because this one here is not blue. They are both red. So based on this, we could just count the red boxes on how many are there. So we have here 1. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's why we got negative 6. And that's it for this example. Now let's have our last example here. We have 5 minus negative 6, still using the KCC. So 5 here should not be changed. So just keep. And then our subtraction here would become addition. And our negative 6 will become positive 6. So obviously 5 plus 6 is 11. And that's it.